Need psychotherapy online or in person? Check out tinyurl.com/THT Psychotherapy. The George Brassey Podcast is made possible with funding provided from Brassey Global Strategies, LLC, a leading political consulting, public policy, government affairs, and research firm. Are you interested in running for elected office? Need advice? Call or email George, 708-769-5015. Brassey Global Strategies 1@gmail.com.
Freeze doesn't stop Chicago Heights City Council from taking care of business. Freeze doesn't stop Chicago Heights City Council from taking care of business. Chicago Heights, Illinois, despite some members of the council being absent, freezing weather and meeting remotely due to COVID restrictions, on Tuesday night the Chicago Heights City Council approved a number of projects to continue moving forward the city's beautification projects. Architectural services. With Alderman Vincent Zaranti sitting in as acting mayor for Mayor David Gonzalez, the council approved an agreement for architectural services with Tria Architecture. Under the $23,000 agreement, Tria will provide a space needs analysis of the municipal garage and water department facilities. The company will analyze existing facilities and determine whether an upgrade or a totally new facility is needed, based on current and future needs. Tria has provided architectural services for other local municipalities such as Country Club Hills, designing its amphitheater, storage and fleet maintenance facilities, and upgrading its recreational center. Morton Arboretum Grant. The council voted to accept an award of $15,000 from the Morton Arboretum, through its Urban and Community Forestry Grant. The grant will pay for a tree inventory of the city. Funding for the grant is provided by the United States Department of Agriculture Forest Service through the Illinois Department of Natural Resources Urban and Community Forestry Program. It offers urban and community forestry grants to municipalities, which are required to pass a tree preservation/protection ordinance before the end of the grant period. Engineering services. The council also approved proposals totaling $842,000 for engineering services for various city infrastructure projects. Chief of Staff Karen Zarant said the projects include sewer and resurfacing work around the city. The council approved an agreement with Grand Capital, North America, LLC, to induce the sale and development of the city-owned real estate at 560 and 570 West Lincoln Highway. Jack Hines, city economic development consultant, said the parcels are the sites of the former Lorenzetti's restaurant and car lot next to it. Grand Rapid Capital has done a number of developments in the city. In other business, Chief of Staff Karen Zarant gave the council an update on January's Illinois Department of Public Health vaccination clinic, hosted by the city. She said about 250 people registered online. The city plans to hold another vaccination clinic, in conjunction with IDPH, in February. Chicago Heights Fire Chief Jeffrey Springer announced the promotion of Captain Tony Mascalino to Assistant Fire Chief. The council approved a redevelopment agreement to induce the sale of the city-owned surplus real estate at 1902 Euclid Avenue, through the city's Abandoned Property Acquisition Program. And the city's city towing services agreement was renewed. Freeze doesn't stop Chicago Heights City Council from taking care of business.
Before we get to the interview, I just want to tell you about our newest sponsor, Union Signs and Printing. Union Signs and Printing is a union sign shop located near Chicago, Illinois, that specializes in the production of corrugated plastic lawn signs used in applications ranging from political and election usages to unions, schools, and businesses. They also produce a vast array of other products, including American-made, union-printed t-shirts, banners, bio cards, literature, door hangers, business cards, and trifold. Get a hold of Union Signs and Printing at 740-1688 or find them on the internet at unionsignsandprinting.com. And don't forget to tell them you heard about their services on the George Brassey podcast.
I'm here.
I'm so glad to welcome my friend Dr. Cornel Darden to the podcast. Cornel, thanks for being here.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Brasea.
So I wanted you to just kind of give the audience a brief introduction of who Cornel Darden is.
Yeah, well, I guess I can start with where I grew up. I grew up in Rock, graduated from Eisenhower High School. Had a great time at Eisenhower, a huge Cardinals fan. Was very involved in sports, from football to wrestling, and also involved in the chess team and the stock market club and a number of other clubs that really kept me busy during my high school years.
Tell me what it was like growing up in Robbins in, I think we're around the same age, in the 80s and 90s.
Oh, wow. It was a very interesting time in the history of our country. You know, I grew up through probably 3 crack waves, and dealing with the overall stress on the community that those 3 crack waves caused was very interesting, especially looking back on it in hindsight. I'm glad to have had great people in my life, my mom and my father and my family in my corner to steer me in the right direction. So Robbins is a very unique town. It was started by all Black people in 1917. Many towns that are mostly Black now in the Southland, they weren't started by Black people. A number of demographic shifts and factors resulted in a majority Black population, but Robbins was the first town in the northern United States to actually be started and incorporated by all Black people.
That's a very interesting story. You said the town was incorporated in 1917?
Yes, sir. It was actually platted and laid out by a white guy named Henry Robbins in the late 1800s. And around the time of the Columbian Expositions in the early 1900s, or some people may call it the World Fair in Chicago, the Chicago landscape was supposed to expand. Many people thought Chicago was going to extend all the way out into the Heights and possibly even into southern Will County and DuPage County. So there was a lot of speculation around that time. That didn't happen, and the land around Robbins got very cheap. So Black people from the west side of Chicago were recruited to come out there and settled, and eventually incorporated their own town.
Cornel, tell me about how, what's the journey from a kid who grows up in Robbins, Illinois, to forming the Southland Black Chamber of Commerce?
Oh, wow. You know, around that time in the 90s and early 2000s, we told everyone to go to college. You know, we forgot about trade schools and a lot of different other avenues to success and prosperity in this country. And I was one of the, members of that generation that was told, hey, go to college. So I went to college, and at that time, everyone told me to major in something that you like. So I majored in history. I liked history. I always had a great rapport with my history and social studies professors in middle school and in high school. So that's what I did. I thought I was going to be a history professor at first, but when I graduated with a bachelor's in history from Northern Illinois University, I actually went a different direction and went to grad school for information science at the University of Illinois. So from there, the world of information really opened up my eyes and led me on a number of different career paths, starting as a college professor where I taught information science 101 at the college level, and into owning an IT company, an electrical company, a locksmith company, a number of things. To help make those companies successful, I joined chambers of commerce. Before I started my own business, I had no clue what a chamber was. And I joined the chamber to help me grow my business. And the chambers that I joined were very, very instrumental in making my businesses successful. whether it was the Joliet Chamber, the Oswego, Shorewood, Naperville. I think I was a member of about 15 chambers at one point. And I saw a need in the Black community specifically to have a chamber of commerce. Uh, I mean, we can talk for hours about the dynamics of Black business and chambers, but that's why I wanted to create the Southland Black Chamber.
Well, speak a little bit about what the dynamics are like out there for businessmen of color.
I would say that there are a number of opportunities that Black businesses don't get access to. And we can start with the public sector. Black people are taxpayers, they pay taxes, and they don't get the same opportunities to do business with taxing bodies as other groups. There's no way that in a town that's 80 or 90% Black, that all the contracts that that town gives out through their procurement policies are all going to people who aren't Black. And that's a huge struggle that we have. Traditional chambers of commerce, like the Joliet Chamber and the Naperville Chamber, do a phenomenal job on, I guess I would say, the retail side of things. If you open up a bakery, they help you network and help you promote your bakery. And those are good things, but, you know, things that they maybe don't have or aren't aware of is the rampant discrimination that would occur with, say, the city of Naperville when it comes to letting out contracts and procurement to minority-owned businesses. And there are a number of state laws, federal laws, and also local municipal laws that have come down the trout, you know, in the last, 5, 10, 20 years that deal with that discrimination.
And with the chamber, what is like the requirements for membership in your group?
The requirements are to reply and to be a business in good standing and to pay your membership dues and to participate in the functions of the chamber. That's pretty much it. We don't discriminate, even though our mission is to help grow, create, and strengthen Black businesses. We're open to everyone. We don't see ourselves as a chamber only for Black businesses, but we see ourselves as a chamber for everyone.
Absolutely. Where does chambers of origin originate at? I mean, where's the first chamber of commerce at in our country?
Oh, wow. Chambers have a phenomenal history. I think the first chamber of commerce started in Western Europe, somewhere in the Antwerp area around the 1500s. If we're talking about the nomenclature, chamber of commerce, then it definitely starts there with the mercantile revolution that was going on in Western Europe at the time. The first chamber of commerce in the United States, to my understanding, was the New York State Chamber of Commerce. The New York State Chamber of Commerce is still in existence, and that chamber has a tremendous track record at being what I call a business environmentalist. That's what I think we are as chamber professionals. We're business environmentalists, in which we affect the business environment in whatever area that we operate in. The New York State Chamber of Commerce had a hand in building the Erie Canal and the Brooklyn Bridge and a number of major projects in New York State and in that region of the country, which made the business environment very conducive to businesses of all sizes being successful. So to be a part of that lineage and that history, to be able to make a major impact on the environment, which allows businesses to succeed, is always mind-boggling to me. It's something that every day when I wake up and get started with my work, I always think about that impact that we're having on our region.
Absolutely. Another area that you're involved in is you've created a website called the Southland Journal. Can you speak a little bit about what that is?
Yeah, the Southland Journal is a media source is totally digital. I still call it a newspaper for a number of reasons. I don't know if you want to get into that, but I am an information scientist by trade, and digital news is the new awakening for this decade. Now that we're entering, 2021, the next 10 years is going to be mind-boggling with the amount of digital information that's going to be consumed in a digital manner. So we see the Southland Journal as a trusted news source to bring local news to the people of the Southland, which currently is not being done as well as many would like. We have a number of city council meetings throughout the numerous municipalities in the Southland that aren't being covered. We have great things being done by great people and community activists and advocates that's not being recorded, and that information is not getting out to the people. So we want to be a source to get that information out to the people.
Cornel, so tell me why you stick to the term newspaper.
I think newspaper has a place in history and nomenclature. And I think when it comes to terms and language, it has more of a bearing of utility rather than actuality, if you get my drift. Because while we may say paper, and although we're dealing with bits and bytes of information in a digital format, paper is a utility means to access information. So as a utility, I think we can still use the term paper, even though we're not dealing with what we would consider physical, tangible paper. We're dealing with a digital means to give people information.
Yeah, absolutely. And in the Southland, we definitely are not getting our fair share of media coverage. I think that's one of the things that helped motivate me to finally start this podcast. I've wanted to do it. I've gotten to know a lot of interesting people over the years, and I finally got to the point where I said, well, if no one's going to do it, I'm going to have to do it. So kudos to you for starting the journal, and I read it on an almost daily basis.
Absolutely.
Cornel, so tell me a little bit about some of the stories that you've been covering in the Southland Journal that you feel are important.
Well, one of the things that we've been doing, we've been covering local council meetings, and we look in 2021 to cover a lot more. We know that the pandemic has put us in a difficult situation in which some of these meetings can't be held in person, or it's not ideal to hold them in person. So we want to see more towns and municipalities have these meetings available, whether it's through a live broadcast or at least record it so that for public consumption elsewhere. And the Southland Journal is serving as an aggregator to be able to not only take those live broadcasts and videos and publish them, but also provide a reporter to sum up the gist of a 2-3 hour council or, village board meeting and be able to tell the people what occurred in that meeting. I mean, these towns and municipalities are discussing things like tax levies, new economic development, and things that I'm sure residents want to know about, but they don't have time to attend every meeting. They don't have time to watch a 3-hour video. So we want to condense that information in an easily digestible format so that they can stay informed on what's going on in their towns.
Yeah, absolutely. There's always a lot of interesting things going on, probably in every town, that need to be out there for the public consumption. Not even things that come off as nefarious, but things that are routine that may be really exciting and have concrete impact on people's lives.
Absolutely.
Cornel, tell me about 2 books that you would recommend to the audience that have been influential for you.
Oh, wow. I love books, and I actually started my professional career off as a librarian.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually the department chair and head of the library at South Suburban College at one point. And I love books. So anytime someone asks me what's your favorite book, I always say my favorite book is the one that I'm reading now, of course. The book that I'm reading now is a book called The Art of War by Sun Tzu. And that's a book that I've read over and over. It's not my first time reading the book, but it is the current book that I'm reading. And The Art of War is timeless. And you could really compare the philosophies of the art of war, not actually to physical war, but between principalities, but war within your household, or war within an organization, or war within on a football team. It can be compared to so many different things that I think it's a real great read. A second book that I would have to mention would be a book by the guy that's considered the father of the modern essay, Miguel De Montaigne. He was a French guy who wrote a list of essays in the 1500s. And these essays cover a number of things, whether it's on love, on war, on passion, on lies, on deceit, and each essay is only between 1 to 2 pages at most. So it's easy to digest. And it really gives not only a look at how essays, which most of us who went through mandatory education or compulsory education, had to do, it gives us a look at where that comes from. Miguel De Montaigne is the father of the modern essay, and his list of essays not only gives you a philosophical look on a number of areas of life in a very concise manner, it also helps, in my opinion, improve reading comprehension skills and also writing ability skills.
Dr. Cornel, how can people, if they're interested in learning more about the Southland Journal, get in contact with you?
They can send an email to press at the Southland Journal, or visit our website at thesouthlandjournal.com. In a few weeks here, we will be rolling out an app in the Android and the Apple store, the iOS store, where you can just download the Southland Journal's app and get the news there through push notifications. We're on LinkedIn, Twitter, and also Facebook as well. If anyone has a story or anything that they would like to see published or an opportunity to advertise, you can reach out to us on all those mediums.
And if you're in business somewhere, how can someone join the chamber?
Joining the chamber can be done online via our website. That website is southlandblackchamber.org. You go on there, click on the join link and sign up and become a member. You can also reach out to us on our Facebook page. That's the Southland Black Chamber of Commerce and Industry. And we do a great job at facilitating a networking environment. So we have a number of events, pre-COVID, of course, we probably will have about 30 events a month. Right now, we've been managing by at least doing something in person every single month. So we're looking forward to January and seeing what the guidelines are for how to operate in person and seeing how we can continue to be active. But we do a weekly Zoom call every Friday, which you can see from our Facebook page.
And my practice, True Lights Treatment, is a member of the chamber, and I've always found it to be really beneficial and a great place to network and meet people in the community who are also small business owners. Cornel, thanks for coming on the podcast.
Thank you, sir.
Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Help George stay on the Chicago Heights City Council. Go and donate today at tinyurl.com/AldermanGeorge 2023. Need more George? Like his pages on Facebook. Friends of George Brassey PAC, Fifth Ward Business Alliance, Chicago Heights Bicycle and Pedestrian Resource Center, and the George Brassey Podcast.